It's hard for me not to look at this movie from the viewpoint of a pure fanboy. I mean, I'm an MCU fan. I love all things Spider-Man, and this movie gave me everything I've ever wanted and more, even with all these goddamn fucking leaks. I thought the movie was awesome. It definitely has its flaws, but I can't lie, I really loved it. Especially the ending. Before I get to that, I have to explain what I think about this version of Spider-Man. While Tobey has the best Peter Parker, and Andrew is the cooler Spider-Man, I think Tom Holland's version of the character has the best balance between both personas. This is also the first movie version of the character that feels like an actual high school student. But there was one aspect of the character that felt missing. That's the struggle. Now don't get me wrong, MCU Spidey does struggle a lot, having to make difficult choices as a hero that impact his social life and relationships as well as nearly get him killed. However, one of the struggles that made Spider-Man such a relatable character was his financial issues. The fight to maintain a job while being a hero, the difficulties he faces trying to pay rent and help his Aunt May, those felt absent. Now obviously it's because this version of the character was still a high school kid, so the movie's focused on problems relating to that. But even though he's technically still broke, he still has Stark Industries backing him up. So what happens after he graduates? It felt like we'd never get to see that aspect of the character. But then, the end of Far From Home happened, where his identity is revealed, which leads to this movie. Now many people believe he did in fact kill Mysterio, which brings him and his loved ones a whole new set of trouble that even Stark Industries can't help him with. Peter loses a lot in this film, and has to make some major sacrifices. Which brings us to the ending. In order to fix everything, he had to get Doctor Strange to finish the spell that makes everybody forget that Peter Parker ever existed. Think about that. His Aunt May is dead, he has no family or friends that know who he is that he can go to. Even though the world still knows that Spider-Man exists, all record of Peter Parker are gone. At least, I think they are. We didn't get to know to what extent the spell warped reality, but if it was as big as it felt it was, then he no longer can get help from Happy Hogan and Stark Industries. He's now so alone. The ending causes Spider-Man to go back to basics. Since he has no records, he's trying to get his GED. Since he has no friends or family, he has to live on his own in a crappy apartment. Since he doesn't have a big corporation helping him out, he had to make a new homemade suit without any fancy gadgets. Also, because he has no money now, he's going to need a job, and seeing how nobody knows he's Spider-Man anymore, he'll probably end up working with J. Jonah Jameson as a photographer taking pictures of Spider-Man, since that would be his best option to make a living at the moment. This version of Spider-Man started off with people saying he has it way too easy in comparison to others, but now he might be the one with the toughest life situation. Another aspect that made people say he had it too easy was due to the amount of gadgets that were provided to him by Tony Stark. But I think the first film did a good job addressing that and implementing it as a plot point, where in the third act of Homecoming he has the suit taken away from him and he had to use his cheap older costume. That being said, looking back at his previous movies and seeing where it led to, I see one hell of a character arc. And now if these movies want to include new gadgets, because, you know, toys, Peter most likely has to build his own, like he did with his web shooters, making it feel more earned, or actually more of an achievement since he didn't need access to state-of-the-art million-dollar technology. It really is something that even though we have 3 solo Spider-Man movies in the MCU with appearances in 3 other movies in that same universe, the ending makes me look forward to even more MCU Spider-Man. But yeah, that's all I have to say about No Way Home. I didn't even talk about the multiverse aspect of the film and seeing all 3 different versions of Spider-Man in the same movie, because whatever I'm going to say, I feel like everybody else is going to say the exact same thing. So that's it for this video. If you liked it and want to see more, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you next time.